Michigan State's legendary basketball coach Tom Izzo tells us how his retirement is going to go down. And Spartans fans, it's going to happen sooner than you think. I'll tell you what he said and what I think about it. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked on Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're always thrilled that you join us, very humbled by it. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. So we're going to talk about the eventual Tom Izzo retirement at Michigan State, at least the retirement plan. Jim Harbaugh interviewed with another team. We'll talk about that, of course, and we'll have our Big Ten Classics. Be sure to subscribe. That helps us out. And follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. First of all, Michigan State basketball coach Tom Izzo has not announced that he's retiring, all right, yet. But the man is 68 years old, and he did talk about retiring in an interview recently and how he would go about it. He did say that he feels like he has more to offer the Spartans, at least for another year. And he also says he's just too stubborn to even think about retiring in the near future. He wants to kind of fight the system, but he knows it's inevitable. It's going to come. Look, John Wooden owned college basketball in the 60s and early 70s. But I think Tom Izzo, along with Mike Krzyzewski, those are the best of this era. And of course, Coach K is gone at Duke now, and Izzo's still around, but he won't coach forever. And when the time comes, Izzo says he's going to handle it a certain way. He said it'll be more like Nick Saban than Coach K, right? Remember how both of those two coaches handled their particular retirements. Coach K let everybody know a year in advance. He did the big ceremonies and the farewell tour. Everybody took time to wish him well, wish him goodbye. Every time he did something, it was the last time he was going to do this there and do it here. And it went on and on and on. The gifts, the accolades, the farewells, everything. Then it closed with a big old ceremony at Cameron Indoor after their last game, 10 minutes after they lost to their arch rival, North Carolina. It was kind of a bummer if you're a Duke fan. Izzo noted that his predecessor, Judd Heathcote, he had a farewell tour. And he's got a lot of respect for Judd and Coach K as well. So he's not knocking what they did. He's just going to do it differently because it fits his style better. It's a personal choice. He said he preferred to go quietly, like Villanova's Jay Wright did all of a sudden, shocked everybody. Or like Alabama's Nick Saban just did last week. You know, Nick Saban made his announcement quietly after his final season was over, but he even waited. He waited for a lot of things. First of all, he said nothing after his Rose Bowl loss to Michigan that ended his season. He then waited another week because the national championship was going on between Washington and Michigan. He waited for that to go over. He didn't want to steal any headlines from the sports national championship. Then he waited another day to allow the sport to celebrate the championship and get all the media hype and let the players and the coaches all kind of bask in that. Great move by Nick Saban, because anytime Nick Saban announces anything like retirement, it's earth-shattering news. It would push everything to the back pages and focus on him. He didn't want that, waited another day, waited for the news of the national championship to calm down, and then he released the news 5 minutes before he announced it to his team in a team meeting. And by the way, the story goes, as I understand it, that day that he announced his retirement, he had a team meeting for 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was 5 minutes before that, he was still on the phone with Miss Terry, his wife, going back and forth about whether it was time to retire or not. Finally, at 5 minutes till, made up his final mind, must have handed a press release to somebody because the news came out almost instantly. It's about the time I found out with everybody else. At about that time, he walked into the team meeting, 4 o'clock, told his team that he was leaving. He was going to retire. And then it became big news. And then it was appropriate. It was time to talk about it. He's the greatest college football coach maybe ever. So that's how he handled it. Very quiet. It was a surprise. No buildup. Nobody knew it was coming. And the sports world was genuinely surprised. And that's kind of how Izzo wants to go out as well. Izzo has a lot of accolades. He's got a big, big resume. He'll certainly go down as one of the greats as well. But I got a feeling now after reading and hearing this interview that he did and how he wants to go out, I just have a feeling that, whenever it is, he'll probably wait until the Final Four is over, maybe give it a day to let it be celebrated, and whether Michigan State is in it or not, and then say goodbye. Now, whether they get there or not, that's another story. His Spartans have made the NCAA tournament 25 straight years. That's an amazing run. But they got off to a slow start this season, and there's no guarantee that they'll make it this year. Look, the Spartans were ranked as high as number 4 early on. You know how early season, preseason polls are. A lot of it's based on reputation, and it's earned. I mean, Michigan State, Tom Izzo, why wouldn't you have him in top 25? He makes the NCAA tournament every year, Sweet 16, Final Fours. We'll get into that in a minute. But for whatever reason, this basketball team had trouble finding itself early on. Now, you have to give Tom Izzo some credit because he did schedule a lot of ranked teams in the pre-Big Ten schedule. Problem is the Spartans didn't win any of them. Well, I mean, they won one of them. But look, sure, those games will pay dividends against tough Big Ten teams, get your team ready, and should help you in postseason games just by being tough and ready to go. But the idea is also to win a few of those, and then you have a really nice resume when it comes time to pick a certain amount of Big Ten teams that are going to go into the NCAA tournament. But the resume will be missing a few extra high-quality wins. There was the 9-point loss to number 7 ranked Duke. There was the 6-point loss to number 12 Arizona. There was a 13-point loss to number 11 Wisconsin. They did beat number 9 Baylor 88-64 rather handily back in December. But then they lost the 3-point game at number 14 Illinois. Look, all in all, again, I give him credit for scheduling those teams. He always does. Tom Izzo always plays a good pre-conference schedule because I think he really does believe that those tough games early on to help you later on. But that's a 1-4 record against ranked teams, so that's not helping him out. He's going to have to build the resume in the Big Ten the rest of the way. And, of course, tonight, if you're watching this Thursday night, they host Minnesota, and they come into that game at 10-7 overall, but just 2-4 in the Big Ten Conference. So that's a slow start for anybody. But over the long haul, if you talk about Tom Izzo, he's already checked off a lot of milestones that other coaches just absolutely dream of. All right. In 2016, he was put in the Hall of Fame. So check, that's already done. You can kind of work your way backward on how he got there. 10 Big Ten regular season titles, 6 Big Ten tournament titles, 8 Final Fours, and 1 national championship. Awesome. As a matter of fact, he's now 4 wins away from 700 in his career. When he gets it, he'll be the 38th coach to do that and the 9th coach to do it at one school. It's all been at Michigan State. And along the way, he's gotten to coach his son, Steven, the last 5 years, who, by the way, just scored his first basket as a 5th-year senior. It was a special moment for him. But at the end of all of it, Tom Izzo is the face of the entire university there at East Lansing. And that's through good and bad and more than just basketball as well. Because that university, they've been through a lot. There's no question they've been through a lot. Whether it be the whole Larry Nassar thing that was in the news for weeks on end, and as ugly of a situation as that was, the Mel Tucker situation. They had an on-campus shooting last year. I mean, through it all, Tom Izzo has been there for the university. But one day, Tom Izzo suddenly will step down and he won't be there anymore. And it could be sooner than you think. I'd like to know what you think, by the way. You can hit me up with that, as always, on Twitter or X at TalkBig10, number 10. Comments on YouTube. And, of course, our website, talkbig10number10.com, if you want to find us there. Jim Harbaugh still in the news, going to be for a while. Interviewed with another team, the Falcons. That wasn't on a short list. That's all coming up next, right here on Locked On Big Ten. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, everything you can think of. And whether you're into speed, power, style, maybe you like to just look good cruising down the street, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die live at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, available only to U.S. customers. And it's the beginning of a new year, and you might be in charge of a small business. You might have an office. You might need to hire new people in 2024. It's like putting a roster together in the transfer portal. Some players go, some come back. You got to get people. Anyway, if you're sitting there going, what's the one move I can make that'll make my business and take it to the next level in 2024? LinkedIn Jobs is the place to go if you want to find people. They know that your success all depends on the team that you surround yourself with. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. We've all been in position. Well, maybe not all of us. I've been in position to hire people. I don't like doing it because I got my own job to do. And now if somebody's missing, that means there's more work for everybody. You got to hire the right person. And if you don't hire the right person, you're just setting yourself backwards. So hire the right people with LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn, it's not just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have so many quality candidates. In fact, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn also knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time and the resources to hire. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, it is quick, and it is easy. LinkedIn Jobs. All right, I want to thank everybody, first of all, who makes this podcast just grow leaps and bounds every day. Thank you very much. Here on Locked On Big Ten, especially those that make us your first listen every day. You everydayers out there that make us go. If you're new to it, tell a friend about us. We're out there. I know you know some Big Ten people out there, some alums would be interested in this. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe on YouTube. You can share and follow and like it. Locked On Big Ten right here, your team every day, or as I like to say, your teams every day, because we cover them all. Look, yesterday's podcast dove into the issue of Jim Harbaugh remaining at Michigan on the condition that the school guaranteed his job status in case the NCAA came down pretty hard on him. If you missed it, by the way, you could check it out, yesterday's podcast and all of our previous podcasts on our website, talkbig10number10.com. It's all there. In fact, you can also get some swag, Big Ten swag, and some tickets there. If you want to go to an event, check it out on our website, Talk Big Ten. That's talkbig10number10.com. In the meantime, Harbaugh, he's meeting with the Chargers. That's established. It's either for leverage or he really wants the job. And why not? It's an attractive job. With Justin Herbert there, nice weather. There's some pieces in place. They just need a good coach, and they can win. They didn't have that before. They had the players, I think, to win. They just didn't have a good coaching staff. Jim Harbaugh can fix that. But we also learned late Tuesday night that he met with the Falcons this week. And I don't think the Falcons is an attractive job. It's too many question marks. They don't have a quarterback in place. If Jim Harbaugh wants to go to the NFL, he wants to go to a place he can win a Super Bowl. It'd be a lot faster a place like the Chargers than in Atlanta with the Falcons. So I don't think it's very attractive. And I don't think it's better than the Michigan job, frankly. And if it becomes between the two, go to stay in Ann Arbor. I think it's a leverage move against the Chargers. So the Chargers, they want to interview some more candidates who are still coaching in the NFL playoffs. They're not available for interviews just yet. But Harbaugh wants to put the squeeze on the Chargers a little bit, get an offer out of them sooner than later. And then he can either accept it or take that back and use it as leverage against Michigan. It's crazy, I know. But look, he can accept it and or not. Or maybe he's using Michigan as leverage against the Chargers. Who knows about that? But here's how I think it all goes. I think if the Chargers offer Harbaugh the job, he takes it. I think if the Falcons offer him the job, he uses it as leverage against Michigan and returns to Ann Arbor. Is that fair? You agree with that? I think that's the play here. I think that's what he'll do. If you follow Locked On Big Ten, you know that one of our favorite topics is expansion and contraction of the Power Five conferences. And we've been watching the ACC and Florida State kind of get into position to battle it out on the courtroom with the eye on the possibility that Florida State comes to the Big Ten someday. We've talked about that numerous times on this podcast. Now, the Seminoles are in that massive 13-year, now 12-year, grant a rights deal, TV rights deal, ACC, ESPN, the whole thing. And Hemming and Hawing and legal talk. And now the ACC is fighting back against Florida State. The conference has filed a 55-page complaint at the North Carolina Superior Court in Mecklenburg County, stating that Florida State has committed, quote, serial breaches of legal promises and obligations, unquote. And Florida State, they say, no longer has the right to have leadership positions in the ACC because they're trying to get out of the ACC. So they wouldn't be in the best interest of the ACC. They'd be in their own self-best interest. They don't want them on any decision-making boards or what have you. So we'll continue to watch this as it unfolds here on Locked On Big Ten. You can be sure of that. That aside, there's been a lot of great basketball here in the past couple of weeks with the Big Ten schedule. We obviously spent a lot of time talking about Tom Izzo, and we mentioned that the Spartans have a game tonight against Minnesota, and that is at East Lansing, FS1 at 6:30. And by the way, Illinois is at Michigan, 8:30 on FS1. I was talking about Izzo earlier today and just all the accolades he's had so far. Again, approaching win number 700, everything that he's done. Getting a little closer with that game tonight against Minnesota. So you can check that out as well. There's another Big Ten game on the schedule tonight. Number 14, Illinois is at Michigan. That's at 8:30 on FS1. So a doubleheader on FS1 tonight. There's one ladies game on the schedule after a pretty busy night last night as well. Purdue is at Penn State. That is at 7 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. Hey, I don't know if you've heard yet, but well, you have if you listen to us because we talk about this all the time. The whole Locked On family, we got Locked On, all these conferences, Locked On teams, college teams, pro team, everything. Well, there's a channel out there on YouTube that bundles it all together. It's the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today, here for you 24/7. Covers the top sports stories of the day. It also has local experts on. It also has our national shows. And this show, Locked On Big Ten, airs on there all the time. I can't tell you when because it's always different. But it's just like 1.5 hour show after another all the time. So be sure and check that out. And you can subscribe to that after you subscribe here to Locked On Big Ten. So you'll be good to go in our Big Ten club here. Love to have you. So subscribe to both and you'll be good to go. All right, at this time of the week, we always like to take a look at what's coming up on the Big Ten Network. We always tell you we're not affiliated with the Big Ten Network. Locked On Big Ten is separate from the Big Ten Network. But we have a lot of common interests, and all of you have it on your cable or satellite outlets. So I'm going to tell you what's coming up with Big Ten Classics and also some live action this weekend. We always like to do that on Thursdays to get you ready for all of that. So that's all coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. I also want to tell you about our good friends at FanDuel. The NFL playoffs, we're rolling. We're absolutely in the thick of it. And don't be sitting on the sidelines. You can have fun with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. That's right. Right now, New customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. It's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use that there are just a ton of different ways to make a bet. In addition to the traditional ways, there are same game parlays. You can find bets in a new Explore tab. It'll help you out. You can make parlays in the Parlay Hub. And they match games up for you, multiple games with suggestions for the most popular ones. And the playoff games this weekend, I'll tell you what, I love the Lions -6.5, according to FanDuel, against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Lions beat the Buccaneers in Tampa in October. Granted, that's when the Buccaneers started playing well. Beat them by 14 there, but beat them without a running game. David Montgomery got hurt early in that game. Jahmyr Gibbs was out already for that game. No running game to speak of, and the Lions still beat them in Tampa by 14. Now, both running backs are healthy. The offensive line is healthy, and it's back in Detroit. Take the Lions. Take the Lions all day long. A couple of those point spreads are big. 9.5 at San Francisco, Green Bay, and Baltimore. And their game against Houston, big point spreads. Check it all out at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. All right, let's take a look at what's coming up there this weekend on the Big Ten Network with the Big Ten Classics and live action going on. Not a lot of classics this time of year because they're doing more and more live action, so we'll get into that. I'm going to put this on the screen. If you're listening on audio only, we'll describe it for you as best we can. And here we go. Let's see here. I'm going to remove this one little banner if you don't mind, and that'll make things a little easier to see. There we go. Okay, let's start it off with Friday, January 19th. All these times are Eastern time. Going to start one with an early morning, 7 a.m. There is a Wisconsin basketball classic. It is the 2015 Big Ten Men's Tournament Championship, Wisconsin versus Michigan State. Nigel Hayes scored 25 points in an overtime victory for Wisconsin over Michigan State and that thriller. So either get up early or record it. If you're a Badger fan, you want to check that one out. If you're a Michigan State fan, maybe not. And then, not any basketball airing on Friday night. A little unusual for not to have a men's or women's game on, but from 6 to 10 o'clock Eastern time on Friday night, a lot of Big Ten wrestling. There is the matchup, Penn State going against Michigan, Purdue against Iowa, and Nebraska against Minnesota. So if you want to check out something a little different there, check that out. And then on Saturday, picking up at noon Eastern here on our grid, got Big Ten men's basketball. Penn State is at Ohio State. Both those teams trying to find their way. Of course, Penn State with a big win over ranked Wisconsin on Tuesday night. I watched that one. That was a tough battle. And that was a snow day at Penn State. So the kids, they didn't go to class, but a lot of them sure showed up at that basketball game that night cheering loud on TV. I remember snow days. Oh, it was a long time ago. I'm in Florida now, so I wouldn't like it if it happened. I'll tell you that. Let's go to 2:15 Eastern time on Saturday. More Big Ten men's basketball. Northwestern at Nebraska. Boo Booey and Northwestern, always worth a watch. And by the way, the Huskers at home, they're tough. They beat number one Purdue when they were number one. Purdue's now number two. They beat Purdue at home about a week or so ago there. They are tough at home. They shoot well at home. They play well. The Huskers at home. I'm calling it right here. Check it out. And then at 8 o'clock Eastern, we've got Big Ten men's hockey. Ohio State at Minnesota. All right, let's switch the grid over to Sunday's action. Just a couple of events I wanted to point out. First of all, this is Sunday, January 21st at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And this is before the NFL gets going. So, because they're a little later on Sunday this week. So you can watch some of this. Big Ten men's basketball. We got Rutgers at Illinois. Illinois still trying to figure things out and hang on to their ranking. And at 3 o'clock Eastern time, more Big Ten wrestling. Ohio State at Wisconsin. So that's a look at the programming grid for the weekend. Some things that they got a bunch of other stuff. This is just the stuff I'm pointing out to you that I thought you would be interested in as we are in the thick of things. And so, yeah, good idea to watch some lineup. I know a lot of you are going to be watching a little bit of NFL football. And why not? It's the divisional round of the playoffs. But in and out of that, all this great stuff going on in the Big Ten, you can check out as well. Also, hey, if you're just sitting around watching Big Ten Network or watching NFL playoffs this weekend, you're just sitting there scrolling on your phone or wherever, don't forget, hit us up at Twitter. And that is our X at Talk Big Ten, number 10. Shoot me a note. I'll probably be sitting around, be able to answer you right back. And also, don't forget, you could hit me up here on the comments on YouTube as well. A lot of you are going at it. A lot of you going at me. I can take it. It's cool. A lot of you complimentary as well. Always like those. And then some of you going at each other back and forth because the rivalries are real. So you hit me up on Twitter, X, Talk Big Ten, number 10. The website, talkbig10number10.com. By the way, all of our previous podcasts, they always go there to live forever. If you want to go back and find, and they're grouped up by your favorite school. So if you want to go find, hey, what did Craig say about Maryland back in the day? Yada, yada, you can go find them, and they're all right there underneath Maryland, for example. There's also a chance for you to buy some swag throughout the Big Ten, shirts, hats, whatever you want, and tickets. If you want to go to some games, it's all right there on the website. And we'd appreciate if you check it out. Tell your friends about us as well. And we'll look forward to getting back to you on some of these comments over the weekend. I'm going to check all that out. Meanwhile, in addition to that, I'm going to ask you to subscribe before you go. If you could click it on, subscribe here, and or follow this podcast right now, wherever you get this podcast, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on audio only, you can always follow it and share it. But here on YouTube, of course, ask you to subscribe and you get the latest episode of Lockdown Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. I always tell people the audio version, the audio only version is out as early as 4 a.m. Eastern. And then the video one comes out at 6 a.m. Eastern. So you're good to go on your way to work, no matter what. Some people play the video and just listen to the audio in the car, whatever the case is. We appreciate it. And there are certainly many ways for you to find us and enjoy us. We appreciate that. And in addition to us, don't forget, Locked On, launching the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, Locked On Sports Today. You can check that out as well and subscribe there too. All right. As things break and get real interesting, we'll be talking about them. I'll check you out tomorrow. Thanks for visiting us today. Always appreciate it. I never take it for granted. Talk to you tomorrow. All right. Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Thanks for checking us out.